I get fired up every time I see that intro, man. Shout out to Chris Gates. That's how you bring in a Georgia Alabama Sports Live show. Thrift, Barringer, Richard Holdridge. And listen, we try to maintain a schedule. We really do. We try to do Sundays and Wednesdays, but sometimes things just don't work out according to plan. Other times it's like Sundays is also the only day me and Richard are off, and we're also going to spend it that night doing a show. So it makes it, sometimes we're like, let's just take the night off. And that's the beauty of Georgia Alabama Sports Live. It's not like we have to do it every Sunday. We can put it up whenever and however we want, Richard. So we're glad to be here this Thursday, and we are excited about the show upcoming tonight.
So glad to be here, Thrift. I'm excited to talk sports once again. It seems like with the Super Bowl coming up, we do have local sports to talk about, but it's exciting, and it's really an exciting time to be a sports fan. But I kind of feel kind of down. Football's officially going to come to an end on Sunday, but, we got basketball and also pitchers and catchers report next Wednesday. So it's a great time to be a sports fan.
It is, and we got a great show for you. We're going to be talking CSU Athletics, get you up-to-date information on that, talk about what we got coming up here these next couple of days heading into the weekend. And then we got a special, predominantly the show is going to be unsolicited hot take segment, and we're going to bring on Rex Castillo here in just a moment, and we're going to talk Super Bowl. We're going to talk NBA, trade deadline, the works. And I know Rex is literally losing sleep that he didn't get Jimmy Butler. Who wouldn't have wanted a 35-year-old aging superstar that acts like a little baby and pay him $60 million to only play half the season? Everybody would want that. No wonder he's so upset that he lost out on Jimmy Butler. Looking forward to talking with him about his Houston Rockets and more. And I made a statement earlier today to Jack, and I'm going to say it again on the show today. I think it's time to move on from Trae Young if you're the Atlanta Hawks. So that is just in my opinion. We'll get that out in just a moment. We are presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC, Buffalo Rock Pepsi, Gordy Eye Care, and Kinetic Credit Union. I did, before we want to bring Rex on, talk about what we got going on here the next couple of days. And then we're going unsolicited, and we'll end it with some maybe a River Dragons update. Richard, not really a segment, but really talk heavily on CSU Athletics because their basketball team had a tough one last Saturday, and we're seeing if they can get back on their winning ways here the other night. But tonight we got, obviously you've seen right now, CVCC, the men's and women's are playing. We got the commander, Robert Edmonds, who will be on the call. Looking forward to seeing him. It's been awesome to see him. He is a living legend. And then, Richard, tomorrow we got some senior nights. Mike Peacock will be on the call for Pacelli, Noah Shelton for Calvary. And then on Saturday, we get the middle school semifinals. Me and you will be there. Rex Castillo will be on the call for Hardaway senior night. And that Hardaway Lady Hawks already clinched the region, have one of the winningest senior group of players probably in program history. So I'm looking forward to being able to hear when Rex makes that call on Saturday. So busy next couple of days, and, of course, Super Bowl on Sunday. So everyone is ready and getting geared up for that, aren't they, Richard?
Absolutely. And then next week we got region tournament play. We got the start of baseball season. It's just so much stuff going on. I'm excited just to talk about all of it with you, Thrift, and I'm really looking forward to having, once again, my Denfos colleague, Rex Castillo, on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live show. And, hey, I've been listening to you guys on Sports Visions, and Rex is, even though he's doing news, I know he's a sports guy, and he's so passionate about sports. I love just hearing that passion, especially about his Houston teams. He's got so much love for his Houston teams. That's why every time I see them doing something good, I always think of Rex. I'm like, I know Rex is happy right now.
Yeah, no doubt he is. And let's go ahead and bring him on. He is always a busy guy, but he makes time for us. His name is Rex Castillo of WRBL. What is up, my brother?
Hey, what's good? H-Town till I die, y'all. No, I'm really excited to be with y'all. Speaking of the Houston Rockets, I'm actually really happy. We missed out on Jimmy Butler. If you want a hot take right now, I think Jimmy Butler is going to be he's going to be one of those guys where, like, he was one of the best performers in the postseason, but one of the biggest babies we've seen in the league.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then there's a bunch of other trades that we're going to get into. Yeah. And we're going to talk Super Bowl, and then we'll end it with some college basketball because I know you're able to do War Report Wednesday with Mike G and seeing the number one team in the country. There's no doubt about it. It's been the Auburn Tigers. But let's talk about the NBA. And I haven't said anything about this trade all week. I did talk about it on the Sports Vision radio morning show, which and I wanted to elaborate a little bit more in detail about it here, which was Luka Doncic going to LA. There are a couple things. I want to start it off, and then Rex, I'll let you come through, and then Richard, you can give your points after Rex. For one, I have no problem with Lakers' side of the trade. This is a no-brainer. You do it in a heartbeat. You didn't even have to give up Reeves. You really gave up nothing, in my opinion. You just traded Davis for Luka, and I would do that trade every day of the week. Number two, it's a good trade because Luka can learn from LeBron how to take care of himself, and now he's going to be even more motivated than ever to be elite. Lakers then got a center in Mark Williams, so now this trade looks even better now because you're like, well, now they lost their post presence. No, they bring in a young guy from Mark Williams who puts up 16 and 10 in the games he did play. He has had to battle injuries, but this guy is uber talented. Now you got someone that can catch lobs, protect the paint, kind of what Anthony Davis did, just not near the score he is, but they don't need that with Luka now. If you're Dallas, I said this about Terry Fontenot and the Atlanta Falcons. Sometimes projecting that you're the smartest person in the room because no one else understood. And it's not because it was a stupid trade. It's because we don't understand it. You see something at a level that no one else in the entire country can see. That is a level of ego that it really grinds my gears. I feel like Fontenot did that with the Cousins Penix trade. That was a disaster. And now you're seeing with Nico. Obviously, he has a love affair for Anthony Davis. They think they can win now with this roster, but you're putting your onus. And you're saying you're winning now with street clothes Davis, who, other than these last year and a half, barely played any games with the Lakers, and it's been an up and down. Kyrie Irving, he's been good while he's been in Dallas, but don't act like he didn't have a kind of up and down pass. I don't think this team is and win now. Charles Barkley was like, they look like a team that could win now. The Lakers like a team for the future. I think the Lakers are win now, to be honest with you, the way LeBron's playing. I can't understand this trade from any aspect other than this. And I think DJ Jones was on to something. And now everyone's saying it. I think the owners are tired of how the players are acting. And the cherry on top was the buffoonery from Jimmy Butler. He calls this. So if you're mad, I wouldn't be mad at Dallas. I would be more mad at Jimmy Butler. Because that caused all this, I feel like. They got tired of the way James Harden did it and the way, Kevin Durant and many other athletes that wanted to get traded. Now he's acting out even more, very unprofessional, don't understand it, acted like a little kid. And they're like, all right, we gotta get back to some sort of normalcy where they have to respect the fact that they do work for us. And I think that's where Adam Silver and probably a lot of other NBA owners in years past, remember Pau Gasol? Everybody was up in roar. How do the Lakers keep getting these trades? How do they keep getting Kareem and Shaq? Rex, no one really said anything now. Yeah, they were shocked, but I don't think they were as mad as the fact they were going to the Lakers because I think the owners were okay with the fact that this is sending a notice that if we can trade a top 2 player in the league, then we can trade you too.
I think that's a huge point right there. The fact that Anthony Edwards said it perfectly, I'm legit scared. And yeah, man, look, we're at a point too where one of the names that I think that also could be really interesting how they handle forward is Kawhi Leonard. Workload, I get it. It worked for a while in Toronto, but what has he done with LA? He was supposed to be the savior of the Clippers. We're a legit team now. We have Paul George, and I have done nothing but sit on the bench most of my time. The Clippers, because it's in my contract. Now, you have to blame the Clippers in part for agreeing to the entire situation. Right. The whole thing I think that was a real shot to players like Jimmy and Luka. Yeah, you're phenomenal. You're a once-in-a-generation talent. You're still an employee. You are still acting unprofessional. You're acting like a child. And I wouldn't be surprised if Riley, honestly, would have just sat him the rest of the season if they couldn't move him. Now, I was also listening to some other players talk about the situations and the ins and outs, obviously like a Kenyon Martin, a Gilbert Arenas. But now the Warriors kind of can keep Butler on a budget. He can hit free. He doesn't sign an extension, but who's going to sign him now? Who's going to sign him to that money that he wants, that he was so desperately needing for, which I could argue he deserves because of the stuff now. But then the Warriors are like, all right, go hit free agency. Go ahead. Oh, no one wants you for that much? Oh, that's tough, bro. All right. All right. We got to talk about it. So I think you're right. Now, I will say the Mavericks isn't obviously the super headline are the Lakers. When you get Luka Doncic, who's at 25 years old, the man is literally about to hit his prime, and you get that for the future. I think also from an owner standpoint, Rob Pelinka, all these guys, the Buss family, they looked at LeBron like, it was cute. We got your boy. Your son's here. You did it. We got your bestie in AD here. You know what we don't have after you turn 41, LeBron? A future. We don't have it. Surprise, surprise, Bronny's not you. He's not going to carry us. And I think Colin Cowherd said it best. He was a great high school player. He was a good college basketball player, and he's not an NBA player. That's it. He's not the guy right now. I hope Bronny becomes, something phenomenal, but to live up to what your dad is, that's impossible. What Luka does, it shows LA, we're here now. We have the money, we have the opportunity, and this is the guy we're going to build around. Now, the Mavericks have Kyrie, who's found himself in Dallas. I'm really happy about that.
Yep.
Clay and Anthony Davis. Granted, Thrift and Richard, that looks like a team that's winning the championship like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
However, it's the shell of themselves right now. AD, again, the injury thing, that's going to be tough, man. Because, again, the one thing that we've seen is that Anthony Davis, as generational as he is, when's the last time he played 82 games? People are literally making bets if he can make all 82, and it's not really there. The other trend, I think Golden State is the most interesting team in the world now, because the one thing I can't wait for, y'all, is when Jimmy starts acting like a diva and Draymond's going to punch him in the face.
Yeah.
Draymond's not going to stand for that stuff at all. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I think if Jimmy locks in and really, I think he'll be revitalized, because you're tossing it to Steph Curry instead of Tyler Hero. Love Tyler Hero, but that's the best shooter of all time. That's going to bail you out a lot of stuff. Draymond is going to be the guy who can be the rough rider for you, so you don't have to, you don't have to fight the entire time. I love Bam, but he was never the guy who was super confrontational. So I'm actually really glad that Houston stayed out of all of this. We love our young core. The fact that we're in the top 5 in the West at this point with what we have, when we were second worst in the West, my God, what a breath of fresh air.
Unbelievable.
And, Ime Udoka, I heard Fred VanVleet say this. It's like he's kind of a Bill Belichick situation. It's like, great, you're up by 10. Why aren't we up 20? We're up by 20. Why aren't we up 30? Why aren't you doing your job? And I think that kind of accountability is something that our previous head coaches were just afraid to, because Jalen Green was this out-of-world talent of all these young guys who they want accountability. Yes, they're multimillionaires, but they're still 20 years old. You're allowed to call them out on stuff. And I think that's what Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks, Dylan wanted to be the guy. He was just never going to be that guy in Memphis, because, Josh takes up so much air. So I'm actually really happy where the Rockets are at now. Depending on how far we go in the playoffs, could be interesting to see what pieces we have to move.
Yeah, but don't rush into anything right now. Let the offseason play out. And, Richard, before you go on about Luka, I did want to add one more thing about Dallas. If obviously Anthony Davis can stay healthy and play the way he has been playing the last year and a half, Kyrie is staying on the right trajectory. This still is a competitive team in the West. The problem is Clay is not the same Clay. And in my opinion, I just don't feel like Dallas has – you're not mortgaging your future of Luka Doncic and what he potentially can become here in the next 10 years for something like Anthony Davis, who has been injury prone. Yes, he's been good the last year and a half, but look at his entire career. I just don't know why you would make that move. Richard, go ahead with Luka before we move on, because there's been some other trades, and I definitely want to get into my Hawks. Yes, I know he's been awesome.
But really, I've been watching the ticker, trying to see which trades are out. But yeah, my thought on Luka: the NBA was in decline. They needed to get the Lakers relevant once again. The NBA is more popular when the Lakers are great, because you have all the Laker haters that just want to see the Lakers lose. But then you have that Laker fan base. Right now, the Knicks are good. The commissioner, Adam Silver, really wants to see Celtics Lakers in the NBA Finals. I don't think Luka going to the Lakers makes them a championship team this year. But like you mentioned, Rex, this is the future. But getting a center like Mark Williams, this is a 16-10 guy, and getting to keep Austin Reeves, and I think that looking at their roster, they didn't have to get rid of Rui Hachimura. I mean, this is a huge win, and the Lakers are going to be built for the future. I just think with the West as stacked as they are, there is a trade that's very underrated that actually is going to catapult the San Antonio Spurs. I know you as a Rockets fan, I know you don't want to hear this, but De'Aaron Fox going to the Spurs, that was huge because now you got the ultimate pick and roll combo between De'Aaron Fox and Wemby. And they also got a young guard, Stephon Castle. Chris Paul is there as like a mentor. I think the Spurs could probably sneak into the playoffs with the acquisition of De'Aaron Fox. And then I was shocked that the Hawks traded away DeAndre Hunter. And now we're looking at a Cleveland team that looks like they're the favorites in the East because they got maybe the final piece. DeAndre Hunter is a great role player, averaging 18 off the bench. And I think that the Cavaliers are going to go toe-to-toe with the Celtics. However, every time the Cavaliers play the Celtics in the regular season, doesn't it seem like the Boston Celtics say, we're the champs, and you got to beat us in order to knock us off, and regular season doesn't matter? That's what I'm thinking.
A couple things. I was trying to hold off on the Hawks thing, but I'm glad you did bring up that part, Richard. I know you were super excited seeing all the things that Shan's been posting right now, but I agree with you. I just want to let you tie up kind of the Lakers-Luka thing. And I think, though, if Luka comes out a man on a mission, he did it last year with Kyrie. You don't think he can do it this year with LeBron? And now they have Mark Williams. Yeah, if those two guys want to take over a game, I think that they're very much a scary team. And by the way, they're 11 games above 500 right now. They haven't had Luka come on the court yet. A couple other things, too. I really agree with you, and I said this on Sports Visions. I thought the Fox deal was probably the best deal out of the entire trade deadline. This guy can throw oops. This guy is putting up 25 a game. Now you get, with Chris Paul, someone that can facilitate and get Wembanyama in positions to dominate. I think this is the future. He's only 27 years old. I think this was a move that everyone wanted to predict. I think it's huge. And now I'm thinking Houston, San Antonio, it could be a rivalry here the next 5 to 10 years, Rex, with all the young talent that both teams, and I know you're pretty sick. You got to go against the freaking Wembanyama, but I think this was a great deal for De'Aaron Fox. And before, Rex, you talk about that, because I want you also to tie it into the Hawks. I'll go ahead and mention, I thought Trae Young should have been the one that was on the trading block. You're not winning a championship with Trae Young, but I get it. You need a superstar. That's what Atlanta needs. They need a Giannis, a Luka, a LeBron, and Trae Young's not it. If anybody else that I just made mention is putting up 28 and 11, leading the league in assists, there's no way on God's green earth they're getting left out of the playoffs. I mean, excuse me, not the playoffs and All-Star game. That's the respect that Trae Young's getting. None. He's not even getting in the All-Star game, and he leads the league in assists, Rex. This is why I'm like, all right, is he really moving the needle? I know Hawks fans love him. We had that one anomaly year of making to a conference championship, and that was also during the COVID shortened season. So I don't know how much I take into effect. I think Hawks fans and the organization thought we were a lot closer than what we really were because of that fluke run that had really Philadelphia just pooping the bed. That's the grand scheme of things, Rex. I would have traded Trae, but I get why they didn't. Hunter going to Cleveland, that's an A+ get for them. That is, if he can put up 15 a game, they were getting 14 a game between two guys at the wing position. Now you add him with Garland and Mitchell, and they give someone that they can guard the Tatums and the Browns. They didn't have that, Richard. That's why they struggled in the regular season. Now you got a Hunter that can play both ways. He's shooting his career best from three. I think it is a huge, huge get for them. And if you're the Hawks, you got 3 second-round picks, Gorgie's name, and Karis LeVert. That sounds like an awesome package of assets that's coming back. What's your thought on the Trae Young situation? But if you want to start with the Fox, Rex, I understand because they're in your backyard, man. You're going to have to base him for the next 5 years.
The thing that also stings about the De'Aaron Fox situation, he's from Katy, Texas. He's just down the road. So Houston fans saw him grow up in their own backyard. I think you guys are absolutely right. The guy dropped 24, 25 points in his first game with the Spurs. Once he developed, he's a guy who took Sacramento and made them relevant. And, you know, I think that's a guy who they wanted to build a future around. But De'Aaron has every right to, to make his choices. And I think San Antonio is a perfect spot. That market is completely the Spurs. I went to school in San Antonio, y'all. And believe me, when the Spurs win, that place is like a college town for San Antonio and for the Spurs. And it's insane. With the Trae Young situation, Thrift, I think you're right. We're at a point now where does Trae really move the needle as far as are we close at all?
Yeah.
the trade deadline shows that they're ready to blow it up. Rishon Shea might be the future, and we don't know how much of an NBA ready player he is. Man, could you imagine if Jimmy had ended up in Atlanta? That would have been absolutely insane.
It would have.
But I think Trey at this point, he's closer to his NBA ceiling than we think. But he is his size. Yes, it is what it is. But I love the way he plays the game. The all-star shrug makes no sense to me. It's
disrespectful, Rex. It's really disrespectful.
He's leading the league in assists, and he doesn't have that easy bucket getter that everyone has. Like LeBron could lead the league in assists, but he throws it to AD a healthy AD throughout the entire thing. But I think San Antonio will elevate themselves to become contenders, if not this year, but next year. Because also we saw that Wemby, he's not used to this 6-month-long season. He played in Europe and he played against former pros, but like the Euro Basketball League season, it's not nearly as long or as grueling as the NBA schedule. So I think at this point, Wemby and Fox are in a position to lead the Spurs into that run they had with those three of Tony, Manu, and Tim. And yes, I was miserable the entire time that they were in the league, but you respected what they did. I think Trey moving on, it's going to be the hardest pill to swallow, but you saw Dallas do it. So I think the general manager, the leadership in Atlanta be like, look, we can if we have to. Because at the end of the day, if we're not closer, we're moving backwards because Trey's only going to get older and he's only going to get more expensive. So we have to move. The Supermax situation, I don't know if Trey is going to sign it who would turn down that much money? But if you want to save your future and move closer and legitimately be up there with the Bostons and the juggernaut Clevelands and even the other squads out there like Philly, if they ever figure it out, you got to move on and you got to get somebody who's more dominant. I love Trey. Seriously, you guys are like my East Coast team. The Ice Tray celebration is phenomenal. And trolling New York is always great. But I don't think the future Atlanta Hawks World Championship, I don't know if it's Trae Young leading the way.
I think that's a great point, Rex. And we'll see. I guess I want to wait till the offseason before they unload something like that. They don't want to feel rushed, which I'm like, you saw what Luka just happened with Nico Harrison. That felt rushed, but who knows? We're not
Dallas
in the
needs to win a championship within the next 2 or 3 years to prove that they did this right. Because man, Luka could win it next year because now he's pissed. Yeah. So good luck, everybody else.
And I can't wait to see when those teams face off against each other. The final thing I did want to talk is the Jimmy Butler trade to Golden State. They tried to get Kevin Durant. It was supposed to be a 3-team trade. Jimmy to Phoenix. Phoenix sends KD to Golden State. Golden State sends out what they sent out. In my opinion, Golden State didn't lose anything. They didn't have to give up Kuminga and Moses Moody, their biggest assets. They gave up an aging Andrew Wiggins. They gave up a slow-mo. I cannot think of his name. Kyle Anderson. Yeah, slow-mo. I couldn't get it out. And there was one more player that they gave up that
Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, Dennis Schroeder, who they just traded for, who by the way just got traded to the Pistons. It's like Schroeder can't find a landing spot. He's been at 4 different teams.
PJ Tucker.
And PJ Tucker's old. Schroeder's still like 29, 30 years old, putting up 15 a game. He's getting traded.
How many different rents is that guy paying at this point?
That's what I'm wondering too. And what happened in the one day you were in Miami? Did you get the claim that you were a Miami Heat for one day?
Give me the jersey, I'll take it.
Listen, especially when I retire, I'm putting that down as one of the teams that I was at least a part of for a day. But I don't know with this Jimmy Butler thing. I think he is in maybe a better offensive scoring Draymond Green, but he's 35. He's got a lot of baggage with him, and he doesn't stay healthy. Remember, he didn't even play in the playoffs last year. I think this was hey, let's go out one more time with a bang for Steph Curry. He's probably got another 2 or 3 years of this type of level play. He'll still be an effective player, but in the end, Steph Curry is not LeBron James. I don't think he plays till he's 45, putting up 25 a game like LeBron's going to. LeBron is an anomaly. I think Steph Curry at 36 has got another couple more years at high level, and then he'll be a good 3rd or 4th option maybe on a championship team if that's what he wants, or he may retire. I don't know if this means Golden State is in championship mode. I think Denver staying pat makes me think they really believe in their team. And honestly, Michael Porter Jr. is playing good. Gordon's coming back. And honestly, Denver right now, if you ask me who my favorite is, it is not Oklahoma City. I would say Denver. Houston is a competitive team. Just their lack of experience is what I worry about in the playoffs, and that they could be playing a Lakers or Dallas or a Minnesota or a Phoenix team that's got experience. But They play hard. We'll talk about that another time, Rex, when it gets closer to playoff season. But Memphis, too, same thing. Competitive team. Not really a big believer of them in the playoffs. I haven't been since Ja's been there. Great regular season team. Don't know if that means championship team. And OKC, when they get Chet Holmgren back, I definitely think they're going to be in maybe the NBA conference championship, not conference championship, the NBA conference finals. I think for Golden State, this was let's at least make a swing and make in the playoffs. Remember, not right now they're on the outside of the play-in game. They just want to get into the daggone playoffs. I don't even think they care about getting to the second round at this point. This was let's stay relevant and make Steph happy, go on a run here to end the season, get into the playoffs, and then who knows what could happen. They could be playing your Houston Rockets. It could be playing those Memphis Grizzlies. And then, heck, Steph Curry gets hot. Anything could happen, Rex. But I'm not buying they're a championship contender. I don't know if this was a championship move, and I really don't think it was. And I really don't think it changes the landscape for the Warriors' perspective in a very much loaded West. Clippers are playing good. Kawhi's back. Lakers are going to add Luka, and Denver is playing their best ball. And then you got the young guns of OKC, Houston, and Memphis. They're playing hard for the rest of the season. I don't see them catching these teams.
I have to agree with you too, but it's one of those things that, like, if they get hot, if they get scorching hot, maybe they make some noise. But I have to agree with you that Denver, for me, it's going to be Denver, OKC back in the conference finals. Just because
I like that.
Joker's a guy who, like, he looks bored for 3.5 quarters, and then all of a sudden he drops 40 on you. And then, Murray is playing it. Murray is kind of a shell of himself at times, but then he turns it on, and he's that finals MVP that just destroys everybody. But I agree with you that, like, it's a loaded West. If they were in the East, maybe they have a shot. But OKC's, the Houston's, the Denvers of the world, it's tough to make a way through in the
very tough.
West. And now the Lakers are just, they have a mad Luka. The power of that is going to be very special.
Richard.
Rex, I've been saying all along that I think the NBA Finals is going to be the Celtics, the Nuggets. Is there another intriguing Finals? I mean, I know that you're rooting for the Rockets, and we are too. I think the playoff experience in the history has really helped these teams get because I really think Cleveland, even though they're the number one seed in the East, I think that Boston has that experience. Denver's got that experience as well. Is there an NBA Finals that you think that might be the better matchup, or is possibly going to be the NBA Finals?
If there's a shot that I would love to see, I mean, Boston just turns it on in the playoffs, y'all, and it is just a different monster. I think this DeAndre Hunter trade, though, for Cleveland could put them over the top. Because
I agree.
You mentioned it earlier that now Spider and all those guys who you rely on to drop 25, they don't have to guard Jason. They don't have to guard all the tough matchups that they have out there, because when the Celtics turn it on, it seems like everybody drops 30, and it's ridiculous. But if you can slow them down, you got to give Jason different looks. You got to give Derek White, just cause him to think a little bit more. And then Porzingis, you kind of just have to hope that he's not 100% at that point. But if you can find ways to keep your gas tank more full than the Celtics, I like what Cleveland has a possibility of doing. Out of the West, look, that kind of experience where you have Joker, who's a multiple-time MVP, arguably could be in that conversation again. Yes, I want the Rockets. I will put that out there. I want the Rockets to go as far as possible. I'm honest, though, with our youth, I think we're probably a second-round team. I hope we avoid the play-in, but, I think we're doing really well right now. You just never know how things unfold. I'll be honest, and it is the typical answer. If we see Luka end up in the finals with LeBron, and we have Dallas versus Lakers for the conference finals, give me all the popcorn in the world. They play each other on February 25th. I think it's in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
So
it is.
That's going to be interesting. Yeah. I think the opportunity, Denver is unless to be the man, you got to beat the man, right? And Denver has depth, they have experience, and they have that killer instinct. Like, I was so happy for Aaron Gordon when he was finally able to get that ring, because I thought he was a guy in Orlando who was a superstar in the making, just never got the shot because they would never build around him correctly. But yeah, I'm really interested to see what Cleveland does this year.
I think that's a great point, and I want to add this before we move on to the Super Bowl, Rex, because I know you got to get rocking and rolling here in just a little bit. But I want to add, when looking at this Cleveland team, their small forward position was Gorgui Dieng, Dean Wade, and Isaac Okura. They all combined for 19 points. You're getting that from one player now in DeAndre Hunter. And by the way, you only lost Niang, and you got Okura, who can still play great defense, and you get Wade. So now you get both of those guys giving you 11 points off the bench with a Hunter. I agree with you. I think that and the Fox are the most underrated trades of this NBA trade deadline. All right, Rex, let's go to the Super Bowl now. You know, I get it. Everyone's got to find a team to hate. I can't do that with – and I honestly, as I got older, when I was younger and the Patriots went undefeated against the Giants, yes, as a freshman in high school, I am cheering for them to lose, just like I cheered for the Texas Longhorns to beat the USC Trojans in the best college football game of all time. I was cheering for that. I always wanted you see that's awesome, man. I love when StreamYard's able to do that. I love it, man. He's got the entire the concert thing and is behind him. But here's my thought. Kansas City is not and I don't like hating on greatness. Again, as a young fan, it was easier to cheer against the teams that dominate. You want to see the upsets. Now I want to see Mahomes going against and trying to break the record and go three-peat. I like seeing Tom Brady dominating, going to Tampa Bay, winning another Super Bowl that makes 7. That type of stuff intrigues me more as I've gotten older. So I don't understand it. I get it from, yes, the league probably does, and the referees, it seems like a lot of calls go in favor, just like the Patriots, for the Kansas City Chiefs. To an extent, even more, I think, with the Chiefs, because the Patriots, they had the Tyree moment. They had the Manningham moment. It's not like they didn't have moments where, like, you kidding me? That really just happened for them to lose? But with that being said, that is the NFL's doing. That is not the Kansas City Chiefs doing. So the NFL, if anyone, should be blamed for the fact that they are pushing the agenda of Kansas City. And I find that hard to believe. You're telling me the ratings wouldn't be great if it was Lamar Jackson and Baltimore taking on Jalen Hurts? You don't think the ratings would be good if the Buffalo Bills that everyone knows about that's never won a Super Bowl, it was in it? I don't believe that they need it. NFL doesn't need anything. People are going to watch the Super Bowl regardless. Okay, regardless. That is going to be the most watched event out of anything, sports related or not, this year in 2026 or 2025, excuse me. But with that being said, Rex, I can't find myself to bet against Kansas City, but I got this thing in my stomach, and I felt the same way when the Eagles upset the Patriots. It just seemed like, man, this seems like such an easy game to pick. It's like the Eagles in this moment, they're not going to overcome and beat Patrick Mahomes. They were lucky to beat a Tom Brady with a Nick Foles 4 or 5 years ago. There's no way they take them down. But I think with Saquon Barkley, the way he's playing, I just feel like this could be it. I don't know if we're going to get a three-peat, but I wouldn't bet against Pat Mahomes. I'm really torn about it. Where are you going with the Super Bowl, and how are you cheering for a team? What's your mindset?
All right, so this is where the Houston connection comes in yet again. And if you have that feeling in your gut and Philly beat the Patriots, or hey, Richard, let's go to Vegas and take Thrift with us at this point. But quick Houston thing. DeAndre Hopkins is on the Chiefs, and when he went to the Chiefs, I was so happy for him.
You were.
Look, dude, you had T.J. Yates, you had what was ever left of like Matt Schaub and Sage Rosenfels. If you don't know any of these names, these are actual starting quarterbacks for the Houston Texans. Like, we paid them actual money. Brock Osweiler was in charge of throwing balls to DeAndre Hopkins, and he was still a beast. I was so happy for him because he's finally in a position, even in his later years, to get to this point. However, Jalen Hurts is from Houston. Flat out wore Houston Astro gear when the Phillies and Astros were in the World Series. So go Birds on that end. I have to agree with you, Thrift, that it's really hard as you get older to root against greatness. When you look back at what Tom Brady did, like, we lived through that. And kids in high school can only talk about that or look at it on YouTube. We saw it happen in real time. And look, yes, we can blame the refs. Again, the Texans had some questionable calls. Even Troy Aikman was like, really? That hit on Pat Mahomes? Right. But also, like, you can't let your quarterback get sacked 8 times. Yeah. Spags and all those guys did, Chris Jones did, was terrorize the Houston offense. I can't blame the refs for that. And at the same time with the Bills, like, you can't throw 3 interceptions, Josh Allen. Why are you giving more opportunities to Patrick Mahomes? It's the same thing. Jack would make this joke. My obviously my brother in the station, but not necessarily in the same department anymore. It was so funny when it's like, when the Alabama Crimson Tide had Hurts and Tua was starting, we would do this pick'em thing every week. And it's like, hey, Alabama's playing Tennessee. Jack, who do you got? Is Tua breathing? Yep. Roll Tide. That's what it is. If there are 13, if you have literally anything other than 3 zeros on the clock and Patrick Mahomes has the ball, I'm sorry, you're probably losing the game. I don't know what else to tell you. And someone brought this up earlier today. The man didn't have like a grow-up stage. Michael Jordan had to battle the bad boy Pistons before becoming Michael Jordan. Patrick Mahomes walked into the league and said, bet, 50 touchdowns. First, like, guys, we're not going to see this. I would say that this is my version of watching Joe Montana come into the league.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, Montana was like 16 for everyone who's watching this that hasn't witnessed or appreciated what Joe Montana was. The fact is that Joe has the ball. You know what we're doing? We're losing by a certain amount because Joe has the ball. Like that's as simple as this is. Okay, maybe blasphemous because of like Joe Montana and Patrick Mahomes, but even Joe didn't win 3 in a row. If we see this happen in history, it will be incredible. I agree with you though, Thrift. Saquon changes everything because now Philadelphia can control the pace. I don't care how boring this is for fans. If I'm Jalen Hurts at the offense, I'm telling him, you snap that ball with 2 seconds left on the clock because we are draining the clock. Every drive we have is 10 minutes or more because last thing I want is 15 on the field with the ball. Give my defense plenty of rest, which is basically SEC fans. It's the Georgia defense. It's the Philly Dogs up there. It's ridiculous. But as long as 15's on the side, we have a chance to win. And I was like, Saquon, guess what? This is 1970s ball. We are giving the ball to you. You are now Herschel Walker. If you have 40 carries and you can hate me tomorrow, you have a full offseason as a Super Bowl champion to rest. You got to dominate the clock. That's hard. I get it. But there's so many weapons that Patrick Mahomes has. And guys, the no-look passes, the crazy arm angles. We got people in backyards trying to look like Patrick Mahomes and doing that kind of stuff, man.
Exactly.
Like, I have to agree with you, Thrift. It's really tough to pick against them. So as I said on Sports Visions, I'm going Chiefs by 3.
Yeah, and I feel you on that, and that's where I'm leaning towards too, man. And to be honest, the last 2 Super Bowls, really all 3 Super Bowls that the Chiefs have won have been good games. The one game they lost.
Really good games. Mecole Hardman, shout out to the Georgia Bulldogs again. Like he was caught that game-winning touchdown, and that's because I was watching with my fiance and some family members, and they were obviously rooting against Patrick Mahomes. I'm like, y'all, there's time left on the clock, right? Yep. Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback, right? Yep. Chiefs are winning this one. I don't know what else to tell you, man. It's really that simple. It's
the same thing I felt with the Atlanta Falcons too. I'm going to go in this close game, 31-28. I think the Chiefs win in a thriller. And if the Eagles do win,
I'll go 27-24.
And if the Eagles do win, I don't think it's a close game. I think they win by 10 points or more, at least a touchdown. Okay. And the reason I say this because if it is a close game, there's not a better closer than Patrick Mahomes. That's why I think if you're going to beat him, a.k.a. the one Super Bowl he lost, he had to get sacked a lot, and really Tampa Bay just completely took him out of the game. They won it 32-9. Richard, your thoughts? Who you got in the Super Bowl? Who you picking, man?
Well, I had to go back and look at the past Super Bowls, and it's hard for me to say this, to seeing Patrick Mahomes come back from a double-digit deficit every time, twice against my San Francisco 49ers.
I know you're sick, man.
I'm sorry, bud.
It makes me sick to my stomach. But I did see that Super Bowl where the Buccaneers dominated, and they controlled the line play. I think that the Eagles' offensive line, you got 3 Pro Bowlers. I know that Jason Kelce retired, but they just plug and play, and that's what the Eagles do. The key is to keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline, like you mentioned, Rex. Saquon Barkley needs to run the football. Jalen Hurts, he's got to be spectacular like he was in that Super Bowl 2 years ago when he passed for 300 yards. I remember in that Super Bowl, the Eagles were up 14-7. There was a big turnover. The Chiefs got the ball, tied it with the scoop and score. Kadarius Toney had a big punt return. There was a lot of craziness, and then that questionable pass interference call, which was not pass interference, that set up the game-winning field goal for the Chiefs. Every Super Bowl that the Chiefs have won, they had to come back from a 10-point deficit, at least, because they were down 24-14 in that first half against the Eagles. And then last year, absolutely sick to my stomach. The 49ers were completely dominating the game. You have got to put the foot on the gas pedal, and you've got to keep the Chiefs down, because anytime Patrick Mahomes has got the ball and the Chiefs are in striking distance, they are going to win the game. We've seen this too many times. So my prediction is I think the Chiefs win. They make history. They three-peat, but after they three-peat, Steve Spagnuolo is going to take the Saints job. Andy Reid might retire.
Ooh.
Travis Kelce might retire. They'll make history, and then they're going to blow it all up.
Well,
I
you're
like
blowing up
Spags
something.
ball.
Yeah, I do too. And I'd like it. But here's the thing, Rex and Richard. Even if Reid retires, he's still Pat Mahomes now. Even whoever they get, they're still going to win. They may not win at the level they're winning now, but to say they're going to just be completely irrelevant, no.
They'll still be winning. Because the AFC's got a lot of great quarterbacks. They'll still be winning. It's not going to be Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Steve Spagnuolo, Andy Reid, and Chris Jones, which been the top 5 that has made the Chiefs successful. Well, and Brett Veach, their general manager. I forgot about him too. But yeah, that's pretty much the Chiefs' success on why they've been the team of the 2020s and the new dynasty.
I have to say also, can we also remember when Tyreek left Kansas City and we all thought that?
Yeah, we thought they were going to drop off. What happened?
And
we thought
won
Patrick
2.
Mahomes was supposed to be the guy who was like, oh yeah, he's going to forget how to throw a football. And because Cheetah left, and now Cheetah's thinking about leaving Miami. Come on, man. That's how the greatness of what Patrick is doing, because he understands I have to win. I have to evolve and win in different ways. And I have to, a great point about Jason Kelce. You lose an all-world center like that, the intelligence, the grit, the toughness, the leadership there, and you just plow your way through it again. The brotherly shove looks great still. And at the same time, you have Jalen Hurts is a guy, what I really appreciate is that he's not getting lost in the hype. He's a guy's look, if I only throw for 10 yards and we win the Super Bowl, kiss my ring.
Yeah.
That's a very Saban-esque thing to do, right? I don't care how we win. It's the fact that we won. I'm doing what is required of me to win. Great. Patrick Mahomes threw for half a mile. I'm walking away with a win. That's all I care about. And I think you're right, is that the turnovers is going to be such the key. Spags' defense, again, I'm not the super X's and O's and football mind. I never played football, but I appreciate the sport. But to see the chaos he causes in the most opportune times, because this Buffalo Bills team was built to beat Kansas City. That was the one thing they had to do. They made sure that, again, Diggs came to Houston. Love that. Hate that it got hurt. But Josh Allen, hot take, Josh Allen should be the MVP. And it's one of those things that I think they built this team to beat Kansas City, and Kansas City still won. Because you can't scheme against game intelligence, football intelligence, maybe the refs. But it's one of those things that, that was the one goal. And Kansas City said, bet, go home. In your home arena. That's so wild, y'all.
His name is Rex Castillo of WRBL. All right, Rex, we're going to wrap it up with talking some college basketball just real quickly on these Auburn Tigers. You've got to keep up with them closely. You get to talk to Mike G, who's really about as integral and I feel like the best analyst and really into this Auburn sports scene as anyone I know. Auburn is the team to beat right now, and then everybody else is falling behind them. Yes, Duke's good, but they're not playing in the conference. Auburn's playing in. They're undefeated in a conference that has 10 teams ranked and potentially 14 teams that will be in the NCAA tournament, which would be a record. They got more quad one wins than anyone, and if they're on pace to have more quad one wins than anyone in the history of the sport, this is an incredible year from Auburn. And Janai Broome, yes, he is an integral part, but I think overall this team does not have a weakness. They are deep, they're loaded, they play hard, and they look like every bit the team that is going to be the favorite to win a national title.
It's one of those things. I think you're absolutely right, first of all. And the argument now is Janai Broome or Cooper Flagg the best player in college basketball. I think Mike G convinced me that it was Janai Broome, but Cooper Flagg is something special.
He is.
Yeah. And now the crazy thing about Auburn, Janai can do everything. But you look at guys like Chad Baker-Mazar, the freshman that is Tahad Pettiford, Deborah Jones, Miles Kelly, they have guys who can not only drop 15 to 25 on you, like 4 or 6 of them, but then you have 4 or 5 shot blockers. They're committed to the defense. They're committed to the entire game of it all. And they look so unstoppable. I really think that this is a championship team, a Final Four. If you don't make it to the Final Four, that's a huge disappointment. What a job Bruce Pearl has done. It is, if you want to see beautiful college basketball, all you got to do is watch Auburn. I think you're right. Thrift is that this is a team that's gonna push the limit of how far they can go. I think they will be the number 1 overall seed. But you see the hunger that they have, the focus that they have, and in a world where college basketball players like Cooper Flag's gone next year, so they got to find it. They got to find a guy to replace him. Janai is your super senior. Dylan Cardwell's still there. Chad Baker-Mazar probably could have left, but all these guys, and especially in the portal, they all came to Auburn for Bruce and they bought in. How insane is that? You know what I mean? Like Katie Johnson came from University of Alabama, North or something like that. Like it was, they come from the most random places, and they've come together and look like the juggernaut that they are.
Yeah, it's been unbelievable, and I want to add this before we get you out of here. Looking at the top 10, I think it's Auburn-Duke collision course. A couple things, hot takes. I think there could be 3 number 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament for the SEC, which would be the first time since the AC did it a few years ago. I think that is very much on par. I think this will also be the year SEC has not one, but maybe multiple teams in the Final Four, and we could even maybe have an all-SEC final. Because right now in the top 4, there are 3 teams, Auburn, Alabama, and Tennessee. There are 4 in the top 6 and 5 in the top 10. Iowa State's been on a losing trend. They just lost again. Purdue, they got mollywopped by Auburn in the year, and they're just not the same with Edey. They're in the top 7. I think Florida, Alabama, and Tennessee are about as good a teams as anyone to win a national title. Houston would be another one, I think, and Duke. I think those are the 6 best teams in the country, the most consistent teams. And everybody was like, well, remember, Auburn was ranked number 1 with Jabari Smith a few years ago. Couple things. They had a freshman and Walker Kessler, too, who didn't get many minutes the year before with North Carolina. These guys didn't have experience, and they had a terrible matchup against a guard-heavy Miami team, and the Auburn guards were just not that good. I love KD Johnson. He's an energy player, but he's not a guy that can go out and be consistent every single night. Same with Wendell Green. Zeb Japster couldn't hit the brats out of a barn when he shot. They didn't have what they got now, which is Kelly, Denver Jones, Tahad Pettiford. These guys can get you 15 to 20 every single night. They're the best three-point shooting team in the country. This is the Auburn team that from 6 years ago when they had Jared Harper and Bryce Brown. You know why they made it the Final Four? Elite guard play, and they were deep. And the one thing they lacked was they didn't have an inside presence like the Janai Broome. So this Auburn team is like a combination of the Final Four and the team with Jabari Smith. That is why they are so loaded, and I think they are the favorite to win a national championship. Rex, thank you so much for joining us. Tell everybody where they can see you tomorrow morning. I know you got an interview with DJ Jones that's going to be coming up for the Super Bowl. Tell them all the great things you got going on, and, of course, they can hear you live from Hardaway for senior night on Saturday on Georgia Alabama Sports Live.
Really excited for that opportunity, y'all. But, yeah, check me out starting at 5 a.m., bright and early, rise and shine with your boy at WRBL News 3 this morning. Crystal Whitman also joining me on the anchor desk. Staying busy in the sports world, obviously helping out Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and always great to talk with DJ, a guy who went from our backyard to the biggest game, Super Sunday against Doug Williams, kind of doing a Black History Month situation there where he was able to witness Doug Williams become the first Black quarterback to win a Super Bowl. And another shout out to Black History Month. Again, we have 2 African-American quarterbacks in the Super Bowl yet again.
Yes.
So it's not an anomaly anymore. It's a normalcy. It's an expectation. And also, how cool is it that a Black quarterback led his alma mater in Carver to the state championship as well? So Black excellence all around us, an opportunity to celebrate that. But yeah, no, it's always an honor to talk with y'all. Love what Georgia Alabama Sports Live has become, and that's a big part into the blood, sweat, and tears that Thrift, Richard, and the entire crew. I'm just lucky to be along for the ride.
Yeah.
Also, quick note, Chuma Okeke from that team in 19 just signed a deal to be part of the Philadelphia 76ers today.
Oh, how about that?
Hot take, this version of Auburn blows out the 2019 team by 10-plus points. It's not.
I agree with you.
That 2019 team, that was my first time covering like college basketball to that degree. Jared Harper was a walking bucket, y'all.
Yes.
He was so special. If Chuma stays healthy,
they win the national title.
They win the national title because Kyle Guy was not fouled. I don't care how many replays y'all see.
I'm still sick.
Yeah.
He needs to have a landing, but he embellished that a little bit. Come on.
Rex, that remote that I buried after I broke it because I couldn't believe the call.
Sorry.
We're in remembrance of it right now after that day. Rex, thank you so much. Love you, man. And thank you again for being a part of the team. We look forward to talking to you soon.
And shout out to Mike G as well. Check out the War Report on YouTube. He's doing an incredible job covering that stuff. War Report Wednesdays. Every Wednesday we talk inside Auburn sports. It's phenomenal.
unbelievable. And he's also a part of Georgia Alabama Sports Live as well. Rex, thank you so much. We'll talk to you later, man.
Talk to you later, y'all.
That is Rex Castillo. All right, let's take a break. Richard, we'll come back. We'll wrap it up with keep it up with CSU Athletics, and then also what's happening with the River Dragons, what they got going on this weekend, and more. It's the Georgia Alabama Sports Live show presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet, GMC, Buffalo Rock, Pepsi, Kinetic Grid Union, and Gordy Eye Care. We'll be right back after this. You're watching right now the Georgia Alabama Sports Live show that is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, my name is Griff Gordy, and here at Gordy Eye Care, we have been serving the Bi-City community for 17 years. As a former state championship quarterback, I love the fact that I can watch local high school athletics from the comfort of my own home. So it was a no-brainer to support Georgia Alabama Sports Live and what they do for young athletes in our area.
And without business like yourself, Gordy Eye Care, none of our coverage would be possible to be able to cover the 16 different high schools, the local colleges, and professional teams. So we'd like to say thank you to you, Dr. Griff Gordy and Gordy Eye Care, for your support of Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And then you can make an appointment today at Gordy Eye Care with the number 334-291-5125. Keep supporting Gordy Eye Care and keep watching Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Welcome back, everyone, to Georgia Alabama Sports Live show. Thrift, Barringer, Richard Holdridge. Richard, let's throw it up. It's keeping up with CSU Athletics, and I'll let you go ahead and start with the girls program. Both girls and boys had a tough last Saturday, Richard, losing to a really good Augusta team. But let's talk about where they're at right now in the standings and see if they were able to overcome and get back in the win column here recently.
Absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned the tough losses to Augusta University. The boys were actually up in that game, and then Augusta University was able to come back, win that game. They sweep the season series with Columbus State, and it looks like they're going to end up clinching the Peach Belt Conference, which means that Columbus State will have to go to Augusta in the Peach Belt Conference. However, Columbus State was able to bounce back and get the narrow 78-75 victory on the road in Americas against Georgia Southwestern University. Wisdom Ubo with 24 points. They are currently 17.
12 for 12 from the free throw line, by the way.
Yeah,
and Adderton, 7 of 7. Both of them 19 for 19. And Adderton added another 17. Richard Cordell Brown added 17 and 5 rebounds. They got back on the winning track there against a decent Georgia Southwestern team, but they needed this. It's tough, Richard. Losing to Augusta the way they did and comeback fashion in that game. And I'm looking at the box score right now. When they lost to them, Jelani James had 19, Adderton had 15, Ubo had 8, so he bounced back really well. They just not able to overcome the turnovers there in that second half. And then in the second half too, Richard, I'm looking, it's hard to believe. 10 of 33 was Augusta in the first half, 30% from the field, Richard. You know what they were in the second half? 75%, 20 of 27. They just were shooting the lights out of the basketball. And then on the flip side, CSU was shooting 55% from the first half. Second half, 10 of 27, 37%, and that's where the game happened. Then they went 2 of 10 from the 3, 5 of 17 for the game. For the Augusta team, they went 5 of 7, 71% from the three-point line and 85% from free throw. They were not missing a shot. So it's just one of those games where I'm glad Coach Moore is able to bounce back. They're still going to make obviously, I feel like they're still going to make the NCAA tournament. And who knows? They won't be able to host, unfortunately, at the conference tournament. But I still think they got a chance to win it, Richard, because both the times they lost to Augusta were winnable games for CSU.
Yeah, and because Columbus State is nationally ranked, they will get an at-large bid. Despite what happens in the Peach Belt Conference tournament, they will make the NCAA tournament first time in 3 years when they took on Queens in the Southeast Regional. That great team with Lewis Preston, and that team in like 2022 was awesome. Meanwhile, the Columbus State Lady Cougars.
Okay, but can I add one more? I want to add one more thing before you go there. I'm sorry, Richard. I want to add one more thing because I just looked at the standings. Actually, Columbus State is tied with Augusta right now, Richard, at 8-2. So if Augusta does get upset and Columbus State wins out, even though their 2 losses are due Augusta, they could still win it. So they're not out. It's not in their control, because if they had beat Augusta, then they have full control. They control their own destiny. They don't control their own destiny right now. UC Beaufort, who they beat, is second at 7-3, and then USC Aiken at 7-3 too. Those are the top 4 teams. in the conference. But Columbus State, they still have a chance, man. And I'm pulling up Augusta right now, who they have upcoming. They got USC Aiken on the road. They got at Flagler, at Georgia Western. They end at USC Beaufort. So if you're Beaufort, if you're CSU, you're cheering for them to lose that game. Their two losses in conference play were at USC Aiken and at the University of North Georgia. So that last one against USC Beaufort, that could be huge for Columbus State, because if they went out and sweep USC Beaufort, they would well, for one, they would just have automatically, they would be head in the standings with their only 2 losses, in Beaufort and Augusta both having 3. So it's not out of the realm they could host, but right now they do not control their own destiny. Let's talk about the women's.
All right, so the Lady Cougars got a narrow victory in the rematch of the Peach Belt Conference Championship last season in Americus against Georgia Southwestern State University, 68-67. Alana Rawls with 19.7 rebounds. Columbus State, Coach Matt Hauser and his Lady Cougars right now, 14-5 overall, 8-2, but they got a big one this Saturday, taking on the best team in the Peach Belt Conference, North Georgia College up in Dahlonega. This is going to be at the Lumpkin Center, so this is an opportunity to see the Cougars and Lady Cougars this Saturday at the Lumpkin Center. And then next week is just crazy because they got a makeup game. They're playing Flagler on Monday, and they got a game Wednesday and Saturday as well. So 3 games next week. They're trying to get going. I do want to mention Columbus State baseball. They took 2 out of 3 against West Alabama. Their home opener at Burger King Stadium at Ragsdale Field will be next Wednesday against Albany State. And I know that is always a treat just to watch baseball at the collegiate level, and it's a great complex. The Columbus State softball team, they took 2 out of 3 against Newberry College. They got a 3-game series in a team that's really near and dear to my heart. They're playing Union University out of Jackson, Tennessee. This was my alma mater's biggest rival. We couldn't stand people up at U. Every time we go up to Jackson and we see them, there was just a lot of bitterness. It was just a hated rival of Freed Hardeman's, and Columbus State gets to play Union. Union actually made the transition to NCAA Division II like a decade ago, so I know that now Columbus State gets to play an NCAA II team that used to be an NAIA school. I can't wait for that. 1 p.m. tomorrow, Cougar Field, Union, Columbus State, and I can't wait. Yeah, baseball and softball are here. It's an exciting time to be a Columbus State fan.
I can't wait for it either. And by the way, going back to the girls, if they beat North Georgia, who they already won against earlier in the year at North Georgia, they will be in control of their own destiny, and I think they have everything in front of them. Their 2 losses were at Lander and at Augusta, and I'm looking at the rest of their schedule. I think all the games left are winnable games for them, and the women could be hopefully the number 1 team in the regular season. The men are still not out yet, so we'll be cheering on the CSU teams. All right, that is Keep It Up with CSU Athletics here on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. We'll wrap it up with some of the things that's happening this weekend. Like I said, we got senior nights. I expect Calvary and Pacelli to both win on Friday. I think Carver's going to finish out strong. They play at Sumter County. We won't be there for that, but we'll be cheering them on. They pretty much will have already clinched the region, and this would put a bow on it if they're able to win that. Hopefully the Carver girls can get a win against Sumter County, because then if that's the case, they would be tied for second. How about those Carver Lady Tigers trying to make a comeback? But it will be tough on the road at Sumter County, who lost to Hardaway. Hardaway at Spencer, I think that is going to be a big win. Hardaway's not losing a game, and I don't know if they lose a 2A game the entire year. And for the Spencer boys, you need to win this and hope Carver beats Sumter, because then y'all will be tied for second place. And then I really don't think it matters because you're going to have to face them anyway, and you're going to have to face them on a neutral court. Who cares if you got to wear the white jerseys or your home jerseys or away jerseys? Well, I don't think that matters as much.
But there's a big difference between the 2 seed and the 3 seed. The 1 and the 2 seed gets the double bye, which they will play in the semifinals. The 3 and 4 seed gets the first round bye.
Yeah, but I also think these are. Yeah, I think these two teams, though, are a little bit better than everyone else. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe you're right. Maybe you want the double bye and you don't want to play a hot Columbus team or a Shaw team that can come out of nowhere and upset. But Spencer and Sumter County have not had really any problems, especially Spencer, other than with at Sumter. I mean, Sumter at home and the 2 games against Carver. Spencer's blown out everybody else.
Yeah, Columbus played Spencer close. And by the way, Kendrick boys beat the Hardaway boys. Hardaway lost to Sumter County at Shaw in December on a buzzer beater. So I think that the margin of victory between these teams, if not mention Carver, because Carver's been blowing out everybody, I think that it's razor thin, including Sumter County, which, by the way, Sumter County, they look fantastic. They got everybody back. Amari Hubbard, who really has been injured most of the year. They got a 6'7" guy named Terry, who is just an all-around player. And I think that Sumter County is going to give Carver a run for their money because they're playing in Americus, a hostile territory. But really, Carver's the team to beat in this region. And as for the girls, I mean, congratulations to the Hardaway Lady Hawks for clinching the region. And
they get to host it, and we're happy because that makes us happy.
Yes. The whole city of Columbus is happy it's going to be at Hardaway, the region tournament for both the boys and the girls.
Nobody wanted to travel an hour and 15 minutes. Sorry.
No, we did not.
Nobody wanted to do that. We'll have we probably won't have a show on Sunday, and if we do, it will be an early day show. So if we may end up doing one right before the Super Bowl to try to get everybody's what they're thinking. But if not, we will be after the Harris County Columbus baseball game on Monday, but I'm leaning towards us doing an early day Sunday afternoon show around 3 or 4 right before the Super Bowl, give you the updated standings, give you our new rankings, all that right before you talk Super Bowl and have fun with your family because Super Bowl starts at 6:30, but it really don't start till closer to 7. So
yeah,
we're going to probably end up having a show on Sunday, so we'll keep you up to date on that. All right, Richard, any other final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, it's a great show. Rex was a great guest, and I'm looking forward to seeing the Sports Vision's morning show tomorrow as well.
Yeah, we can't wait to be there. Richard, you'll be there in attendance 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Sports Vision's 92.1 FM. It's a Sports Vision's morning show with me, DJ Jones, and Richard Holdridge when he can. And thank y'all so much for watching the Georgia-Alabama Sports Live Show. Have a great rest of your night, everyone. Hopefully CVCC, you're getting big wins here tonight. And then don't forget, we got high school basketball and middle school basketball on Friday and Saturday. And we got our show on Sunday. And then we do it all over again because next week we got region tournaments at Brookstone and at Hardaway. And by the way, we are cheering on the Glenwood Gators and Lady Gators. The Lady Gators play at St. James on Friday. That is a number one ranked team in 3A, or one of the top teams in 3A, 31-2. Guess who the boys got to play? Montgomery Academy, another top 2 team, 31-2. So both of them got the bad end of the draw against elite teams. We're going to be cheering them on. We will not be there for that. So let's hope they do well. And Central plays Smith Station, and we hope the Red Devils get a win because if they lose, even with their great year, they are eliminated. Don't see that happening. So let's hope the Red Devils and Lady Red Devils, because they have both of opportunity to win a state championship this year, but they got to get through their region this Friday and Saturday. From Richard Holdridge, I'm Thrift Barringer saying thank y'all so much, everyone. We'll see you next time on the Georgia-Alabama Sports Live Show. Thank you for watching the Georgia-Alabama Sports Live Show presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. You're ready to smile.